Hi everyone, today I'm taking you through how you can set up expression maps for the Cinematic Studio series in Cubase. Expression maps are one of Cubase's main features and can be very powerful for an efficient workflow when you've set them up correctly. If you want to save yourself the hassle, I've created a full set of expression maps for the entire Cinematic Studio series, which you can download in the link below. But without further ado, let's load up some violins and get started. I prefer to have my articulations on separate tracks. This way I can have the most detailed expression maps so I can make use of everything CSS has to offer. Plus, when I unload all the articulations from the UI, it saves me a lot of RAM that I don't need. When you purge each instrument and disable them, you'll save yourself a lot of computer performance. Next up, I'll write down the different options this first articulation has to offer. So for the first violin sustains, these are standard legato, advanced legato, non-legato, and all of these three with Con Sordino switched on. This makes for a total of 6 articulations we'll need to account for. Let's enter these into our expression map by making a new one and adding 6 empty switches. The reason I don't simply have a Con Sordino off and on switch in my expression maps is because that isn't as foolproof as it sounds. I've tried it and it often just wasn't working right. The great thing about CSS is that you can use both specific velocities as well as CC58 to program the articulation changes. So every knob and wheel you'll see in any of these articulations can be controlled by either sending CC58 data to contact or by hitting a key at a specific velocity. And if you have CC58 already assigned to something else, you can easily change it by clicking the wheel on the top right and assigning the key switch CC to any value you want. We'll program the expression maps by making use of both of these functionalities. Now for legato and Con Sordino, we can use the keys that are highlighted down here. A#0 for legato and B0 for Con Sordino. If we look at the manual, we see that pressing these at a velocity of 0 to 64 will turn these off, and hitting them with a velocity of 65 to 127 will turn them on. We can already fill these in for each articulation. So advanced legato Senza Sordino will need legato on and Con Sordino off. Let's add those. Start off by adding 2 commands in the output mapping section. These are both defaulted to note on, which is what we want. We want Cubase to press 2 specific notes when we select this expression map, notes A#0 and B0. Data 2 is the velocity the note is pressed with. So for off, we'll need something below 65, and for on, we'll need something above 65. Legato A#0 is on, so let's keep that value at 120, and Con Sordino is off, so let's change that to 2. Now you can enter these values for the different articulations of the expression map. So with all the legato and Con Sordino switches now in place, we could finish there. The expression map we have just made is the one you can use for tremolo, harmonics and trills. But this sustains patch switches between advanced and standard legato. For this, we need to send some CC58 information. So for advanced legato, we'll need a CC58 value between 6 and 10, and for standard legato, we'll need CC58 between 0 and 5. Let's now add these in the output mapping section. So now in the status, we select controller. In the type, we make this CC58. And for advanced legato, the value needs to be 7. And for standard legato, we do the same thing, but this time we add the value of 2. And now let's add these functionalities to the Con Sordino articulations as well. Now the map itself is done. The last thing to do is assign them to something you can control. You can do this either with program change settings or keys on your MIDI keyboard. I prefer the latter. My keyboard starts at E0, so I'll need to set E0 as my root note. So here in remote keys, start key is E0, chromatic, and press OK. And I can now control this expression map with my keyboard starting at E0. Let's try it out. So I assign the expression map to the instruments. E0 is advanced legato, F standard legato, F# non-legato, and then the 3 after are the same thing, but then with Con Sordino turned on. And for the shorts, CSS has assigned the wheel you see on the right to CC1. So when I move my mod wheel, you'll see that the wheel moves and selects the different articulations accordingly. This is something I remove immediately by right-clicking and selecting Remove MIDI Automation. I don't want the place where my module is or could move to be of any interference with the articulation I'm selecting. So here we have 8 articulations total, all short notes with and without Con Sordino, and I'll just add those to the expression map real quick. And with all the articulations in place, we can now do this the same way as earlier. Start off by adding the Con Sordino information by adding a press of B0 at a certain velocity. Next up, add some CC58 information so CSS knows which short articulation to pick. So for spiccato, it's between 11 and 15, staccatissimo between 16 and 20, staccato 21 to 25, and sforzato 26 to 30. And finally, assign them to key switches. And by using the same principles, you can work out how to make these expression maps for the other articulations. So for tremolo, harmonics and trills, you'll simply need the Legato and Sordino switch we used earlier. For measure tremolo, you only need the Sordino switch. And for the marcato patch, you will need to add additional information for the spiccato overlay, doubling the amount of options to 8. 71 to 75 is with overlay, 66 to 70 is without. And for pizzicato, you'll need to remove the already assigned CC1 data on the wheel. Add a Con Sordino switch with B0 and add CC58 data to apply the correct pizzicato type. And with that, the whole first violin expression map is done. And the great thing is, since CSS is so well programmed, I can use these maps on every single instrument of both Cinematic Studio strings as well as Cinematic Studio solo strings. And for the woodwinds and brass libraries, you can use the same functionalities as we discussed here to create the different expression maps. Look into the manual for the required velocities, keys and CC58 data and use them to apply the right values to the right articulations. Since there's no Con Sordino switch, most of these will be less complex and a lot of the different articulations will only require a simple legato on and off switch. Keep in mind that the woodwind legato switch key is G sharp 0, as bassoons and bass clarinets go down to this low A sharp. And that should set you up to make your own expression maps for Cinematic Studio series in Cubase. If you like this approach and you want to save yourself the time of making them yourself, I've made these expression maps for the entire series available for you for free. Just check the link in the description. It's based on a pay what you want format, so feel free to leave a couple of bucks. I would really appreciate that. But if not, no worries, they're there for you for free to make use of. And that's it. Good luck making your own expression maps with these settings and feel free to download them from the link below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.